Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today we're jumping right into Road to Ranked, and before I even start an introduction, this is a really cool team as they've got Reshiram, Milotic, Rillaboom, Calyrex, that is just Glastrier, Porygon 2, and Whimsicott. So, Reshiram in itself is already really cool, and this is not a traditional Reshiram team by any means, so I am very, very intrigued. Of course, we are using the Gigantamax Centiskorch team that I featured in the previous episode, so if you've not seen that, I'd highly recommend it, as it features just how good Centiskorch and Articuno can be in this format. But yeah, this is a really cool team. And by the way, details for the team that I'm trying are in the description below, as well as the previous episode, so go check out it if you're interested in it. Reshiram is typically strong. You can run Life Orb or Assault Vest. It's obviously weak to ground, so Gastrodon, Landorus are good, but Landorus is really weak to the Glastrier. We don't want to activate competitive on Milotic. That would be really bad. This is actually a brutal matchup for Zacian, so I don't even know if we want to bring it. I think we still do, actually, because it's really good against everything that's not named Reshiram, but this is just such an interesting team. I think I'm down for a Grimmsnarl Articuno lead here. Zacian in the back. Man, I mean, it's like Centiskorch is okay here. Actually, I guess like Milotic is also not great, right? And it's like if I were my opponent, I would bring both Milotic and Reshiram. So I think I'm going to go Gastrodon as my final one. The reason I'm picking Gastrodon over Landorus is because, one, it is not super weak to certain Pokemon on my opponent's team, right? For example, if I bring Landorus, I'm really weak to Glastrier under Trick Room, and I don't know if I can deny Trick Room. That in itself is already pretty scary. Second reason is because if I bring Landorus and they bring in Milo, which I would do in their shoes, then I would just activate competitive. So this is definitely one of the more intriguing teams that we've run into, so curious to see how it plays out. But thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I actually meant to change it, so it's supposed to ask what Series 12 like combos or teams have you tried and enjoyed so far. But of course I asked this in the previous episode, so if there's any content you'd like to see, I saw a lot of team building questions and team building guides, yeah, let me know in the comment section below. They're going to go with Porygon and Milotic, which I'm actually really okay with because I've got Calm Mind, and actually the Chesto Berry on Articuno as well. So like turn 1, I don't mind going for a Light Screen, and actually just Calm Minding up here. I'm mainly curious about what Milotic's going to do for my opponent right now. Could be Coil, Hypnosis, Muddy Water, but there is a world in which we just get fully set up with Articuno in this game and just like Calm Mind a ton. Not discounting that. Okay, they're just gonna go for Ice Beam. No, that is gonna be some damage, but with Light Screen and Calm Mind, that's actually more than I would have expected. It's because it's Life Orb Milotic. Wow, interesting. Okay. Life Orb Milotic, and they get Trick Room up. No, I don't mind Trick Room going up. I can Hurricane. My only fear is missing a Hurricane right now. I've got Gastrodon and Zacian in the back. Now, I don't really have too much value. I mean, I could Reflect right now with Grim, but we're not really in a position where we need it, so I actually don't mind just hard switching to Gastrodon and then going for a Hurricane here onto Milotic. Because we'll survive another Ice Beam. We'll survive another couple of Ice Beams, actually. And with Gastrodon out, now I can just apply a ton of pressure with Yawn each turn. Okay. Yeah, so they're probably just going to double Ice type attack here, but we should survive this comfortably. Maybe not so comfortably, actually. And my fear is getting frozen here. Okay, nice, we take those. No freeze. And Hurricane hits, okay, nice job. Galarian Articuno, nice job. Almost gets the KO on a Milotic, that's beautiful. Okay. I'm really curious how fast their Milotic is, because Gastrodon should outspeed it with an Earth Power here, I would think. But I also don't know if I really want to conserve this Articuno right now, because I can just Earth Power and go back out into Grimmsnarl. The other interesting consideration here is that Milo is going to faint from, I don't know if it's 2 turns of Life Orb or just 1. But I'm also intrigued by just going for Yawn here on a Porygon to force a switch out the next turn. Yeah, I think Yawn and Ancient Power here could work. I could Ally Switch, but I don't really feel the need to here. Okay, we're actually fastest with Gastrodon, so that's good to confirm. Not really surprising, given that we're pretty slow, but always good to just, like, you know, actually confirm that. Articuno actually survives the Ice Beam impressively enough. Ooh, okay, they recover. Now that's fine. The only downside is obviously I went for Ancient Power here rather than Hurricane. And I'm not sure an Earth Power KOs Milotic here. But now it's really awkward for my opponent. I also, like, did you bring Rillaboom out? Because if you did, I feel like a switch would have made sense. I could see Porygon switching out into Rillaboom and then Milo just KOing Articuno in this position. Or they could recover again with Milotic. I don't want to Earth Power and activate competitive, though. That's my main fear in this position. So I'm down for a Yawn into the Porygon slot again, and actually a Hurricane into that slot as well. Okay, there's a switch. Yep, as expected. And they don't bring in Rillaboom, and given that it's Glastrier, I'm fairly confident they just didn't bring Rillaboom into this matchup, and that makes things very interesting for us, because we're able to just cycle these Yawns. But I didn't really consider the fact like Milo here might actually have Recover, mainly because I was like, what are the odds it has Recover as well as Life Orb, but it's obviously really good synergy. Okay, and Articuno actually goes 2 for 2 on Hurricanes, which is really sweet. That is so much damage, wow, okay. Neither of us have Dynamax yet in this game, which is really interesting. But your last one I feel like should be Reshiram. And if it's Reshiram, I'm at a position where maybe we can actually just max the Gastrodon immediately. Max Quake into the Glastrier. And go into Zacian. Because this gives Zacian a special defense boost as well. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. It feels weird to push the Dynamax button this early, and I did get punished for not KOing Milotic earlier by going for Ancient Power rather than Hurricane, or not Earth Powering the Milotic slot. But I also don't think Milotic's honestly that scary for my opponent's end right now, so it's not the end of the world. I also could have just targeted this. If they're staying with Glastrier, I also would think they're Lum. Maybe they're just willing to give it up. That would also make sense. I don't know, this was a position where I actually maybe should have gone for Yawn onto Milotic first before maxing, because I don't think I needed to max immediately here. Yeah, they just Ice Skull Crash. Okay, that's fine. Like, if I Yawn there and I don't go for the Dynamax, then I take too much damage, I think, and that's a problem for us. The good thing is now, if you bring in Reshiram, well, Gastrodon's just going to wreck it. If you bring in Porygon, well, I can just Sacred Sword Max Quake it for what might just be a knockout. I'm not sure if it's a KO, depending on how a Porygon 2 is EV'd. They're just going to go for Ice Beam. Okay, so it's Ice Beam Recover. Surely a Water-type attack like Muddy Water, Scald, Hydro Pump, something like that. That's a crit, and that's still not much damage. And that's the upside of getting that special defense boost, and Trick Room expires now. Okay. I can substitute potentially with this Zacian as well, which could be helpful if they bring in Reshiram immediately right now. And it is Reshiram. Okay. I've got Articuno and Grimmsnarl on the back. I need to conserve Zacian to beat Porygon in the end game, especially because Milo and Porygon can both recover, so I don't mind going for a Max Quake here and a substitute. Ideally, if Reshiram maxes, you're not Assault Vest, and we 2-hit KO you, that would be the dream, but I think the good thing is, at this point, my opponent only has special damage between Milotic, Reshiram. I guess it could be a physical Reshiram, but that's pretty rare. Between, yeah, like the standard sets. Okay, Milo switches out. Interesting. I guess it makes sense because it just doesn't do any damage with its water type, attacks, and you don't want to boost Gastrodon. Traces Storm Drain. They don't max Reshiram. That is really interesting. But they don't protect it either. Okay, they just go for Fusion Flare. The lack of a Dynamax there is really interesting to me. Because the thing is, now Max Quake, even if your Assault Vest, still does a ton of damage. Enough to the point where, like, it's hard to be confident in. Like, that makes me think they want to max the Porygon, but I don't mind that because I can just Yawn you. Okay, that's a super good turn for us, I'd argue. Cool. So we get another special defense boost on both of these Pokemon, and them tracing Storm Drain doesn't matter because we don't actually have Water-type damage here. I've got Light Screen and +2 Spit Off on both Pokemon, so I'm really not that scared right now. I can't tell if that's Assault Vest Reshiram or not. I don't know my Gastrodon to Reshiram damage calcs at all, to be honest. But I don't mind just going for a Max Quake. And would I rather Sacred Sword or Behemoth Blade here? Does Sacred Sword KO Dynamax Reshiram is my question? I'd rather Behemoth Blade, I think. Interesting. No Ally Switch, no Dynamax. I mean, honestly, even if they had Max Reshiram, they'd still be in a pretty tricky spot, but now I just like am confused at who their Dynamax Pokemon is gonna be. I guess it could be Dynamax Porygon 2 after you Eerie Impulse my Gastrodon this turn potentially. But the thing is, now I'm at +3 special defense with both of these Pokemon, and I have Light Screen up. So it's like, even if you max at this point, I don't think you're really dealing that much damage, but if we're going to foul play here, then you're actually still going to chunk Zacian for a sizable amount. So foul play into Zacian is what I'm expecting, but they just Trick Room. Actually, Trick Room here first makes sense, because if you foul play, then I actually can probably just win next turn. But now I don't necessarily have a free knockout onto the Porygon. So it's obviously a good lead for us. I'm a little bit frustrated in allowing Milotic to recover as much as it has, but I think it's still a really good spot for us right now. Honestly, here I'm down to just attack. Like, I do have Yawn. I guess Yawn is really good for us here, right? But like, I'm thinking we can just Earth Power Sacred Sword Porygon. It's just that Porygon could go for a recover right now. So I think Yawn into Milotic. What do I want to do here, actually? I think I should play it a little bit slow right now. We only have one more turn of Light Screen, actually, so I feel like I should leverage that. Okay. I'm going to Yawn into Milotic, and because of Light Screen and all these special defense boosts, I feel okay just going for a Sacred Sword on a Porygon, too. So what's maxing here? You could max Milotic, max Hailstorm, but like, I don't know, with Light Screen and all these Max Quake boosts, and then not bringing Rillaboom and us KOing Glastrier so early on, I feel pretty good about our spot. It's going to be max Porygon too. Now, one of my other questions is, do you have max Lightning on it? Because if not, then everything's just going to get put to sleep, which is obviously also really good for us. Okay. Nah, there could be Hypnosis on this Milotic as well, but Hypnosis Life Orb Recover would be such a wonky set, and it's just max Phantasm, okay? To do like 14 damage, yeah. And there's just no damage output from my opponent. I think you had to max the Reshiram at least. I was really surprised they didn't. And they actually just go for Muddy Water, so yeah, hoping for infinite crits now. But with Zacian at +3 special defense and Light Screen, actually dodge it too. So absolute worst case there, but I don't even think a crit Muddy Water gets the KO there, to be honest. Okay, now we got the Yawn off, so we can always just protect with Zacian, Yawn into Porygon. I suppose there's a chance they have max lightning on Porygon as well, like Shadow Ball and Thunderbolt, but yeah, it doesn't look like that's the case. So, yeah, this was an interesting one. Like, Reshiram was a really good counter into Zacian, but Gastrodon and Landorus obviously threatened a lot, and they went with the Trick Room route, right? And I think they were basically expecting me to play towards Landorus-T, maybe more so than Gastrodon. And for example, if they had brought Rillaboom over Glastrier in this one, then suddenly it's really hard for me to just Dynamax the Gastrodon. But as soon as the Porygon 2 switched out into the Glastrier, it indicated that, you know, they didn't have Rillaboom. Or maybe they dropped Reshiram. That actually could be an interesting consideration as well, but it's pretty rare. And so as soon as I see that there is no Rillaboom, then it means I can just push the Dynamax button with Gastrodon with full confidence. And since we got so much damage on the Glastrier on the switch in, like Galarian Articuno was super clutch for us in this one, you know, getting that Calm Mind off, getting a lot of free damage off. And even though Milotic healed it back up, at least, you know, we forced it to heal back up. And landing that Hurricane on the Glastrier switch in was absolutely phenomenal as well. And part of the reason I wanted to bring Galarian Articuno was because it covered for, you know, potential Hypnosis Milotic. Calm Mind was valuable. I certainly didn't expect Life Orb and the Recover. That was pretty cool. But the thing is, like, Galarian Articuno could have actually been decent against the Reshiram as well, right? Where I can, like, Light Screen Calm Mind immediately or Thunder Wave Calm Mind, try to stall out your Dynamax, and then max my Gastrodon later on. And then the beautiful thing about this team is that it covers for Gastrodon's weakness to Rillaboom really well, because you have so much anti-Rillaboom with Galarian Articuno, Landorus, Zacian, and Centiskorch. It's really hard to feel confident bringing Rillaboom into a matchup like this, right? And so, not surprised to see my opponent not bring it, but of course, it made our lives a lot easier. So, glad to feature another way you can play this team, because we didn't really max Gastrodon in the previous episode. So, yeah, let's just keep it going. Alright, next game here, and I actually ran into this opponent on the ladder earlier, and they had beaten me, and I got caught off guard because they had max Mindstorm on Calyrex-I Ice Rider with Weakness Policy. And so in that one, they led Dusclops with Indeedee and just went for a turn 1 Indeedee switch out into Calyrex-I Ice Rider. My goal was to get Centiskorch in safely, but I didn't lead it. I led Articuno to try to cover for the Charizard Venu Torkoal combo. So what's interesting in this matchup is, like, if they were to lead with Sun, I think Articuno would be really strong. But if they're to go with their Trick Room setup, then Dusclops plus Indeedee is really scary. So I'm just going to go with Grimmsnarl and Centiskorch here. I want Zacian for sure. Do I want to bring Articuno? Like, Articuno's really good against Venu, Charizard, Torkoal, but what are the odds that they actually play towards that? Now, because I actually ran into this opponent earlier, they might expect me to make the adjustment of Grimmsnarl and Centiskorch, so I could see them just going with Sun immediately. I think Landorus is probably a better bet here, and it's a little bit more consistent than Articuno as a max option. I don't know, Max Articuno would just be so cool here, but I find it difficult to be in a position where we can actually get, like, fully enabled with it. And since Landorus has the Lum here, it also helps against the Venusaur, so, yeah. Max Mindstorm on Calyrex-I Strider, I think, is a really interesting adjustment or, like, meta trend that I hadn't seen until, like, very recently. Mainly because you normally want, like, Trick Room, Protect, Icicle Spear, or not Icicle Spear, Glacial Lance, and then High Horsepower, right? So fitting, you go to Torkoal Venu. Okay, nice adjustment by them. Although, actually, Centiskorch here is still totally fine, I think. Actually, still really good. I can Light Screen turn 1. I just am worried about an immediate Sleep Powder from the Venusaur. So I don't mind a Light Screen. It's awkward because if you're my opponent, you could just go like Sleep Powder and then like Eruption, which I don't love. If I were them, I would Sleep Powder, honestly. Okay, I'm gonna Light Screen and Protect turn 1. Okay, they switched Torkoal out. I'm totally okay with that. Charizard, maybe? No, into Indeedee. Okay, so to prevent Thunder Wave. That's fine. As of right now, Centiskorch is really good into everything my opponent's brought. I expect Sleep Powder here, but now Landorus-T is really strong against my opponent in the end game. Especially with the Lumberry. Sleep Powder and a Grim would be a really sick play here. That would put us in a really weird spot. Yeah, I feel like you just can't risk that there. Okay, so they do Sleep Powder into us. This is where Galarian Articuno actually would have been really cool, but it doesn't work against Indeedee Dusclops. It's just so weak. I could Reflect, Foul Play. Landorus switching isn't terrible. I don't know the item here. Could be Focus Sash on Venu or Indeedee. I think I'm honestly down for a Foul Play into a Leech Life here. And they miss Sleep Powder. That's super lucky. I mean, the thing is, even if you hit there, we're still in a totally fine spot, right? Wow, okay, so we bring them down to Sash. They didn't go for Follow Me, so I could have just knocked out Venu there, but I'll take this trade any day. Because the thing is, okay, let's say they had hit the Sleep Powder. Like, I just burn a turn of sleep immediately, right? And heal back a little bit with leftovers as well. So they would need probably a 3-turn sleep on Centiskorch to really shut us down. My only regret now is I didn't Flare Blitz into the Venusaur slot, but at least we know now that that's not Focus Sashed. The Torkoal switch out was pretty interesting. I guess they just didn't want to get hit by like a Thunder Wave on the Venusaur potentially. I would bring Torkoal back out right now if I were them. Oh, wow, they didn't bring Calyrex. That is super interesting. Okay. I don't mind that at all, because it means I can Thunder Wave now, and then Landorus-T just wins this game for us, I think. So I'm down at Thunder Wave Charizard, and just protect Centiskorch right now. And I think we sweep with Landorus in the end game. Because Landorus beats all of my opponent's Pokemon at this point. The only thing it was weak to was Calyrex-I Strider here. Okay. And they max Charizard, which is even better for us, right? Because I'm paralyzing it, so yeah. Articuno actually would have been amazing against my opponent's 4 Pokemon here, but I think my opponent anticipated me not to bring it because the last time I played them, I got wrecked by leading Articuno, and it didn't feel like the best lead option. I hope we don't miss Thunder Wave. That was the main thing I'm nervous about right now. Okay, we don't. So unless they're Lumberry here, we should be in a very fantastic position. Okay, they're not Lum. That's fantastic. They're going to Sleep Powder. That's totally okay. I've gotten what I needed out of Grimmsnarl. All I'm looking for now is a safe switch in into Landorus-T. Max Airstream. I actually would have preferred to sacrifice Centiskorch in this position, so I don't think that Protect was very good on my end. I'd rather have just get Landorus-T out immediately. The other thing to consider is the number of turns of Sunlit they have as well, right? Actually, another thing to consider is that if they max Airstream again, that was actually a really big mistake then to not give up Centiskorch for free. Because the thing is, another max Airstream and they will just outspeed us. But I still have so many turns of Light Screen, 2 turns of Sun left, which is generally good for us. I don't want to switch in either of these Pokemon right now. That was an unnecessary Protect. I should have just Flare Blitzed in that position and just given it up. Okay. They're going to go for Sleep Powder. They're actually going to miss Centiskorch again, and they get paralyzed. Wow. I wonder in that position whether or not they were doubling on Centiskorch, because I just needed Centiskorch gone. Like, my plan was to... I mean, now the game's 100% over. Like, we got astronomically lucky in this one. I still felt pretty good about the game state. Like, even if they had hit both Sleep Powder... Actually, if they hit that first Sleep Powder, things would have been a lot scarier, especially with them having Focus Sash on the Indeedee, but... Yeah, this was them just getting really unlucky and us getting very lucky. I'm actually pretty happy about my Pokemon selection here because I think Landorus-T would have crushed it here, but yeah. Part of what made this interesting is, like, if I were playing a best of 1 against my opponent, I would have just led Articuno, but I had just lost them, and they went with a completely different mode with their team, and so, you know, there's some context here that you as the viewer, unfortunately, you know, was not able to see, or were not able to see. Anyway, now we just give up both of these Pokemon. Like, there's nothing they can do. Because Landorus-T just wins the game. Yeah, so that was like, super bad luck. But I think even if they had hit the Sleep Powder and gone for G-Max Wildfire onto Grimm, I just get, like, if you don't Airstream there, then I just bring out Landorus and I outspeed you, right? Landorus will just one-shot all of my opponent's Pokemon in this endgame. And we have the Lumberry, so I don't need to worry about Sleep Powder either. And I had Light Screen up, so I felt really confident in a late game Landorus sweep, even if they hit the Sleep Powder, that second Sleep Powder, and if, you know, Charizard gets an attack off there. But yeah, unfortunately for them, they didn't get either, and so we didn't even need to bring out the Landorus. But Landorus was definitely the right Pokemon to have as the 4th. If I had actually had Gastrodon as the 4th in that one, I actually am not confident in our ability to win. So that's why Pokemon selection in itself matters a lot. And yeah, my opponent went with the Sun route, didn't bring the Calyrex, which I thought was really interesting. And like I mentioned, we had played earlier on the ladder, so I think they were expecting me to adjust and not lead Articuno, which was definitely, they were right in that, right? But because we had Landorus-T in the back, I still felt pretty good. But yeah, I mean, that's a game in which we got super lucky, and that's why with Venusaur, it's like relying on Sleep Powder is really scary, but I think they absolutely made the best plays with it. What could have been really scary in this game is that they led like Charizard and the Venusaur, and I also didn't think they needed to switch out Torkoal as quickly as they did. Like, they didn't need to bring out Indeedee, but I think they just wanted to make sure I didn't get like Thunder Wave or, you know, Scary Face or anything onto Venusaur, which I can totally respect. So yeah, definitely a lucky one for us there, but let's just keep it going. All right, last one of the day, and this is such a cool team. Wow, Lapras, Giratina, Snorlax, Celesteela, Arcanine, Gothitelle. Okay. What in the world do I want to do against this? Giratina, I mean, part of it feels like Perish Trap with Gothitelle, Lapras. I just don't know what to expect from Giratina. There's potential Belly Drum from Snorlax. Huh. So intriguing. Very cool. Very, very cool. Centiskorch is interesting here. I think Yawn from Gastrodon feels very powerful for us. So, like, I'm thinking Grimm, Gastrodon, get screens up, spread Yawn, and then go from there. I would love to bring Articuno here, but I just don't think it does enough damage. They're so bulky. It also could be Centiskorch plus Gastrodon as a lead. I haven't done that yet, but the cool thing is you trap them in and yawn them immediately. I'm not opposed to that in this one, honestly. Zacian in the back and then maybe Grimm is the final one. I could also just bring Articuno over Grimm, but I feel like getting screens up with Grimmsnarl is so good. So I'm going to take a little different approach in this one. I don't know if it's the best, but we'll see. We shall see. And the idea here is to... Ideally, because their team is so bulky, if we can Fire Spin and Yawn, we just put everything to sleep, essentially, and slowly chip away. And if they lead Gothitelle, like, this punishes them super hard. But they're going to go with Arcanine and Snorlax. Okay. I don't mind this too much. I mean, Gastrodon going for a Yawn onto Snorlax is definitely acceptable. What do I want to do with Centiskorch? Okay. I'm down for a Yawn and honestly a Coil. Because their team definitely indexes more on physical damage. Okay, Arcanine switches out, maybe into Lapras. Giratina, okay. wonder what Snorlax does. Like, do you belly drum? This is such an interesting team. Like, I just have no idea what to expect, honestly. So, we'll find out. But this is a strong turn one for us, right? Like, we got a free setup in, I don't know, what's Snorlax gonna do here? I see. Okay. That is so sick. Wow, I should have seen that coming, but like I just haven't played against Snorlax in so long. Oh my goodness. That's something that I will never fall for again, but I absolutely did not see coming in a best of one, and just having not played against Snorlax in basically forever. That was really cool. And them having Air Balloon is actually such a big problem right now, because otherwise I would just Dynamax Gastrodon. Okay, I'm gonna go out in a Grim, and I'm gonna Protect right now. This is still fine, but it's a lot harder now. I thought we had a really good lead, and I thought turn 1 was gonna be really good, and you know, it's funny, because I think there was a video in 2017 in Sun and Moon in which, like, I also didn't expect a self-destruct, and it was just, like, from the most random thing. Was it Snorlax? Or Gigalith or something? Either way, that really gives it a throwback. Oh my goodness, like, something like that feels really frustrating, because it's like, I could have even seen coming, I just had no idea. Interesting, they don't max. Okay, I was thinking Giratina would want to max there. They E-speed into Gastro, okay, I'm okay with that. Breaking Swipe, okay. Okay. I should just survive an Extreme Speed on Centiskorch. I almost want to max Centiskorch right now. But for what? It's just that we need to knock out Arcanine. Because that's our biggest, the biggest counter to Zacian. I could foul play. I'd rather Reflect here in case they max Giratina, though. So Reflect, max, and then Centiferno into Arcanine is, I think, my plan right now. And the idea is, okay, they switch out. That is really good for us. Although, like, maybe not as good as it seems because they've conserved their counter to my Zacian now. They are going to max Giratina. Okay. But this is the thing, right? Our Centiskorch was so bulky that we were able to survive that normal gem self-destruct. And we're going to have Reflect up now, too. So this actually is not bad at all. If we eliminate Celesteela, I still got low HP Gastrodon in the back. I've got Thunder Wave. So that's pretty good. I can spread Paralysis. And Foul Play is actually going to be pretty important in terms of damage output against both Giratina and Arcanine. That's so interesting, though. If we lose this, like, so be it. You know, it's just a one, like, turn/strategy I didn't expect, and it was really, really cool. That's, like, it's so cool because there obviously aren't that many ghost-restricted Pokemon, right? Giratina is really one of the only ones that you can use. Calyrex Shadow Rider exists as well, but Giratina just, like, adds so much more variance because you have no idea what to expect. Okay. They go for Phantasm, that's fine. 178 down to 122. The main problem here is I eat up the defense drop. But I'll get the knockout onto Celesteela, and now I can Thunder Wave the next 2 turns. Like, I can Max Guard, right? Because I don't really need this G-Max Inferno anyway. Them switching in Celesteela was nice. My idea was to trap the Arcanine in with Fire Spin and then just KO them. But now I get rid of what would have been a really bulky threat in this endgame. So that's not bad for us. Okay. Now they're going to slightly, you know, take some chip damage from Fire Spin as well, which is good. I think now I definitely want to Thunder Wave and Max Guard, and then Thunder Wave the, you know, next Pokemon. I'm just curious about the Arcanine set, especially if you're running Extreme Speed. Like, could be choiced. A slight possibility of that. Well, what am I saying? It's Air Bloom. Yeah, never mind. Air Bloom, Extreme Speed. So interesting. I could just Foul Play here as well. Zacian should win against Giratina, so my priority should be knocking out Arcanine. I don't mind a T-Wave and a Giratina here and a Max Guard this turn, and then T-Wave Arcanine Fire Spin at next turn, or G-Max Inferno at next turn. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, nice. They don't even get an attack off with Arcanine. That's like, and I don't really care if you target Grimmsnarl with Giratina here. I'm just curious about the item on it. Weakness policy makes the most sense to me. And they okay, beautiful. That could not have played out any better for us. Nice. So I heal back more with leftovers. Okay. Their leftovers Giratina. That is interesting. I would have not guessed that either. Okay, you take Fire Spin damage. Now I can Thunder Wave into your Arcanine and go for Sentiferno onto it as well. Is there any reason to not go for this? I could miss Thunder Wave, so Foul Play would be guaranteed damage. But I think if we hit the Thunder Wave, we should just win the game if I get the Sentiferno off. Nice, we hit. And the reason why I think we'll win now is because you take residual damage, and I get, you know, some damage off with my Centiskorch off onto you. Yep, we outspeed both Pokemon now. Beautiful. Is that a crit, or do we really do that much at +1? Like, that's not even a crit. Wow, what? Flare Blitz does not KO us either, and yeah, you're just gonna faint from Fire Spin now. I think Phantasm here should get the KO now, right? Oh, poor Giratina. I mean, this is why Giratina is not a good restricted Pokemon, as sad as it makes me to say. It just doesn't do damage. Like, even with a weakness policy, it doesn't do damage. Now, granted, we have, you know, we had a Coil that got rid of the defense boost, but, you know, we were able to survive longer because of it. This is wild, right? Like, Centiskorch literally only had, like, 40% of its HP after turn 1, and we somehow managed to get a Dynamax and full mileage out of it. That's just how good this Pokemon can be and how bulky it can be. So, they have V-Speed, but at this point, there's really not too much they can do. Both of our Dynamaxes in. Zacian obviously hard wins against the Giratina. They should just faint for Fire Spin here, actually. Now I don't even have to worry about a weakness policy, so yeah, I'll just Foul Play Giratina, protect Centiskorch. And I have to give Centiskorch props here because I did not think it would survive this many turns. But Grimmsnarl is also being clutch. We haven't really missed any Thunder Waves with it, and we've definitely been more lucky than unlucky while using this team, which I'll gladly take. Okay. There's Foul Play, super good damage. And it's Substitute on Giratina. Okay. I mean, that just accelerates its doom, right? You're taking residual each turn. Substitute, Breaking Swipe, it had Max Phantasm. I think what really was tough for my opponent here is they just didn't have a good max option, and Giratina was not it. Celesteela would have been their best bet, right? But the fact that they switched it in, we just got a free knockout onto it was super, super good for us. That's 4v1 now. I mean, just Foul Play. And Leech Life. And yeah, Giratina is such an interesting Pokemon, but it's like, you can make it work without weakness policy. It's just hard. It's just hard to, honestly. Okay. And Leech Life doesn't break the sub, but the recovery in itself is nice, and then another double up will KO Giratina this next turn, regardless of who it targets. And we have Zacian in the back, so obviously there's not much my opponent can really do. And unfortunately for them, they get paralyzed, but you know, all we needed was a Pokemon to faint here, bring in Zacian, Behemoth Blade, and the game's just immediately over. So yeah, Snorlax was cool, but at the end you are losing one Pokemon for it. And I think us having Koyo and just being bulky enough with Gastrodon and Centiskorch was a big deal, right? If you pick up a double KO on turn 1 with that, for example, I actually probably just lose the game immediately. So yeah, but that was a really, really cool team, and this Giratina set is something I've never even seen, and I've certainly, you know, haven't seen a self-destruct Snorlax in a very long time, and I got completely caught off guard by it on turn 1. But the thing about self-destruct is that it is a pretty high variance strategy, and you know, if I like double protect on turn 1, they just faint, you just lose a Pokemon immediately. Now they actually managed to get it off, but still, yeah, we were put in a pretty good spot thanks to the Coil, and Centiskorch really pulled off a nice kind of victory for us here, even though it took so much damage from turn 1. So yeah. Either way, though, we've managed to string together a couple of wins, so let's keep going until we lose. That's my plan for today. And we are ranked 6. Okay. Alright, next game here, and it's a Dialga team with Cinderace, Chandelure, Urshifu, Rillaboom. Okay. I feel like Landorus is really good here, but it's definitely going to be Max Hailstorm Dialga, and it potentially is Eject Button, Fake Tears, Whimsicott too. So even though Landorus theoretically should be really good, we have to be very careful. Okay, don't mind Grimmsnarl for early screens. They could go Rillaboom plus Dialga, which is probably my primary fear here. How do I beat Rillaboom plus Dialga? That is, I think, the most troubling combo to go up against. If they don't have Max Hailstorm on Dialga, by the way, this is really tough for them. Or Eject Button on Whimsicott, so I want to be careful about those. Like, those are very, very scary potentially for us. Could be Centiskorch. But they have 2 fire types, I don't love it. Okay, I think I'm gonna go Grim, Landorus, Zacian. Feels like it should be Gastrodon as the final one, but it's obviously weak to Rillaboom. So the question is how confident my opponent is in Rillaboom, but I think Gastrodon, even if they bring in Rillaboom, is not terrible because there's a lot we can do to beat the Rillaboom. I'm just nervous about Rilla lead. I think Rilla Dialga is maybe one of their best leads to counter my Grimmsnarl. So if they find that, then it will be pretty frustrating, in which if they do, then I maybe should have led Zacian plus something else. What is that? Okay, Whimsicott Dialga, I'm fine with that. I think our goal here is Landorus-T is amazing in the late game, so what we want to do is just stall out the early game. That's easier said than done, though, and the thing is that they could totally have Trick Room here, right? I want to just Light Screen, expect Max Hailstorm, and switch out into Gastrodon. I think I'm okay with that. Because Gastrodon's also a potential max option. The problem is, it's still a question of whether or not they brought Rillaboom. If they did not bring Rillaboom, this very much can be like our first game where Gastrodon just really puts in a ton of work. Okay, we get them to Dynamax, so that's a good sign. This is a really interesting team. Okay. Helping Hand. Maybe it's just a Helping Hand Wormwind then. That would be a nightmare. If they went for that and they KO Gastrodon, that's tough. That's really tough. Nice. Okay, it's Hailstorm. That's excellent then. So you're not Sash on Whimsicott, I would think. Still a ton of damage on a Gastrodon, but all things considered, I'll take it. The question now is whether or not I'd want to set up a Reflect or just Thunder Wave, because the thing is they really don't have that much physical damage. Yep, it's Life Orb on the Dialga. I could even max Gastrodon here, but I don't want to take like a Helping Hand max Wormwind. That kind of hurts. And it's not like a max Quake KOs the Dialga anyway. I just think we have to max Landorus here. This turn's interesting though, because I could just attack with Gastrodon. Thunder Wave is appropriate here. Now, Reflect would help against Rillaboom and Cinderace as well as Urshifu. Actually, it's not bad here. I do expect Rillaboom in the back from my opponent. This is where if we like hit Thunder Wave against a Paras, it's super, super good for us. Yeah, I'm actually going to choose to just Ice Beam here, I think. Because I could see them going for... Okay, they Tailwind. Yeah, I could see them going for a max Steel Spike on a Grimmsnarl. See if they do. Thunderwave connects. That's really good. Grimmsnarl's been so clutch in hitting these. It's just funny after like playing, you know, before. And they do Steel Spike. Okay, cool. Should KO us still, yeah. Now the only downside in that is that I could have just gone for a Yawn into the Dialga. But... I have now paralyzed you. You've spent 2 turns of your Dynamax. You have 1 defense boost. You have Tailwind up, but I've got Zacian, meaning I can Sacred Sword and essentially ignore your boosts. That's pretty good. Ice Beam does not get the knockout there, but I actually think that it is Eject Button, isn't it? I'm glad that my opponent had both of the things I was worried about here. And it just goes to show how, like, even though it felt super safe, if I lose Landorus-T on turn 1 to that, I feel like I actually lose the game immediately. So... you have to just think about the absolute worst case scenario so often. And the fact that Rillaboom did not come out here, I think is a very good sign for us. Okay, this is still very far from over though. And the question now I have is, like, do you have Energy Ball potentially? Man, I mean, them having Tailwind is also a pretty big problem, right? I've got Light Screen. I think the play I want to make here is just bring in Landorus. It's just that I'm probably going to eat up a max Wormwind, right? Is there a world in which I actually just Dynamax this Gastrodon? It could make some sense. Because if we KO this Chandelure, then it paves the way for... Unless their last one is... They don't have Rillaboom. I would think their final Pokemon's Urshifu. This is a really weird spot to be in. If I were my opponent, I would max Wormwind Gastrodon here. Okay, I'm gonna go max guard. We'll see if they go for it. The other alternative was to max Gastrodon, and... What about Earthquaking there? That would be interesting. I feel like Landorus is just so strong in this endgame, though, that I just need to max it here. My main question now is the Dialga moveset. And the other problem is I might get brought down to -1 with the max Wormwind on Gastrodon. That's the other fear. Okay, no Energy Ball, so that's at least a good sign. They just Heat Wave, that's totally fine. Okay. Nice. That's a big turn. That's a big turn. So they Hailstorm into Landorus, good. And we're gonna Earth Power. Okay, we don't get the knockout on a Chandelure, but that's totally okay. Actually, with Hail we might. Oh, that's such a big deal. Like, we just eliminated the biggest threat to our Zacian. That's amazing. Beautiful. Okay. There is one problem here, though. Despite the paralysis, Dialga is still faster than us. Your Water Urshifu. I mean, does Blizzard KO us here? I wouldn't think so. We have Light Screen up, and we're Dynamax, but this is Life Orb Dialga we're talking about. Okay. They're probably just going to close combat, KO Gastrodon. That allows Blizzard to be single target. So what I could do is actually withdraw Gastrodon out into Zacian to let Blizzard is spread type. Yeah, I like this play. I'm going to max Airstream here into Urshifu and then switch Gastrodon out into Zacian. I guess, though, they could just Surging Strikes the Landorus anyway. I mean, that would be a crazy play. But maybe they feel like they need to make a desperation play right now. Alright, let's see. Okay, close combat, good. That does a lot of damage, though. I don't know if I love that. Blizzard does go off. Okay, we're fine, we're fine. Please no freeze here. Okay. Whew, thank goodness. Nice. Okay. That's a knockout onto Urshifu now. I think single target Blizzard we would have actually been fine anyway, but freeze there would have been deadly. Now the thing is I have a speed boost on both of these Pokemon. I kind of forgot that we were bulky Landorus-T without max speed investment, but now I outspeed your Dialga with both of my Pokemon. Perfect. Okay. Whimsicott's revealed. Helping Hand, Tailwind. It should just be like Moonblast / Dazzling Gleam and then Switcheroo. Maybe it doesn't actually have Switcheroo, but that'd be kind of surprising. We still have 4 turns of Light Screen. Blizzard here really does hurt both of our Pokemon. I'm fine going for Airstream into... I have to worry about Trick Room going up, right? And I would think Max Quake still KOs here. So I am just going to Max Quake Dialga and Sacred Sword it. I guess the problem is if Dialga actually has Protect here. Nice, no Protect. That should be game over then, I think. Yeah, Moonblast does not do nearly enough. Beautiful. Okay, cool. Yeah, the key thing in this game is recognizing that Landorus-T was really good, but also recognizing that you have to avoid a couple of key things in the Max Hailstorm from Dialga and the potential Switcheroo. And the reason why that seems fairly obvious in Team Preview is because, like, there's no way you're going to run a team in this format. I mean, I shouldn't say there's no way, but it'd be ill-advised to run a team that doesn't have a good counter into Landorus-T, right? Given how common Landorus-T is. So, yeah. Wow, okay, that was a really intense one, but we're gonna keep things going until we lose or hit rank 1 at this point. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we'll probably only get to rank 5 with that, but we'll see. All right, next one here, and it's Calyrex-Ice Rider. I started this video a little bit late, so I don't know if it cut off before we saw our opponent's ranking, but they're around 400 or so I don't even know if a win here gets us anywhere. We're ranked number 6 currently. So, Calyrex-Ice Rider. Porygon 2 for Trick Room. They don't really have a great way to self-activate Trick Room. Or sorry, self-activate Weakness Policy, which is good for us. I don't even know if they're Weakness Policy here. I think a Selvest could make some sense. Centiskorch has to respect Max Rockfall from Landorus-T. I don't love Articuno here, so I think it's just Zacian for sure. Gastro's really good against Landorus and Regieleki. Okay. I kind of like Grimmsnarl plus Gastrodon, I think. Because I can set up screens and Yawn early on, and then Centiskorch plus Zacian endgame. How do I feel about this? I mean, I never really want to bring Articuno into this matchup, that's for sure. And then I think Landorus-T here is intriguing. My issue with Landorus-T is that it's really weak to Calyrex-Ice Rider, as well as Porygon 2 with Trick Room stuff. So, it doesn't instill like a ton of confidence in me. So, let's see. Okay. I'm gonna go with Indeedee Porygon. That's fine. I'm very okay with that. Although now I kind of wish, like with Centiskorch, I could have just gone for a Light Screen into a Coil turn 1, which would have been pretty sweet. But I think this is okay. It's relatively free to Light Screen right now with Grimmsnarl. Foul Play will do decent damage. The question is whether or not I want to Yawn. There's Psychic Seed on Indeedee. Okay. It's not download on Porygon. Light Screen is pretty safe. If I'm not taking much damage actually turn 1, I could just Foul Play into Indeedee. Protect Gastrodon. Because if they Trick Room, then I can, you know, pressure them with Yawn the subsequent turn. Oh, I should have Light Screen maybe just to deal with Max Porygon too. I didn't really think of that as an option. Interesting. Okay. This also could be physical Max Porygon too. But I didn't expect them to max, especially with the lack of download. So it could be... interesting. We're going to go for Helping Hand Max Strike, I guess. Well, hopefully they target down Gastrodon. If so, it's not honestly that bad of a turn. But if not, this could be really ugly. Max Strike. Okay, they do target Gastro. Honestly, then that's totally fine for a turn 1. Because I don't even lose that much out of that. I just don't know if they're physical or special right now. Special makes more sense. That's the standard. But if you're Dynamaxing a Porygon, that could imply it being physical. Interesting. Like, their aggressiveness... Okay, they also did 50 damage there. It feels fine to switch into Zacian here, honestly. Like, Light Screen. And then go out into Zacian. Because now this paves the way for a late game Centiskorch max, I think. My only fear is that they are physical and they just do like a ton of damage, but even if they are, this is max HP Zacian we're talking about. Alright, just go for Helping Hand again. I mean, maybe you knock out the Grimmsnarl here, but that honestly wouldn't even be that bad. If we can make it through 3 turns of Dynamax and not lose any Pokemon, we're in really good shape. Okay, so they're just going to strike again. Yep, targeting Grimm this time. Okay, it does not get the knockout. Beautiful. That is super, super good for us, I would argue. Because I will end up getting both screens up with Grimmsnarl. So now we get a Reflect up. Now, is Reflect that important given what they have in the back? Calyrex-Ice exists, so I'd argue so. And I don't mind just going for a Behemoth Blade here on a Porygon. If you go for Follow Me, well, I'll just knock out Indeedee. If you don't, then Porygon just takes a ton of damage. Knocking out Indeedee here is fine, right? Because it, granted, gives them a free switch in, but I pick up a knockout. And if you're, like, Porygon's also in a weird spot, right? Like, you should actually target Grimmsnarl here. Actually, sorry, you shouldn't target Grimmsnarl. You should target Zacian and intentionally ignore Grimmsnarl, because Grimmsnarl is effectively useless at this point in the game. So we get the knockout onto Indeedee, and if they go for a strike on a Grimmsnarl, that's a great trade, right? My opponent will have spent 3 turns of Dynamax with Porygon. Okay, it is Max Phantasm. So yeah, they are going to target Zacian. Now, notably, that will drop our defense, and that makes me think they are just special, because with Phantasm, you're typically running Shadow Ball. But because they went for that, I'm still faster than them going into the next turn. So I've got both screens up, I've still got all 4 Pokemon and Dynamax. All of those, obviously, good news for us. They're going to bring out Calyrex, okay? That's fine. I've got this defense drop. So from my opponent's perspective, it makes sense to maybe protect Calyrex, try to set up Trick Room. I could always substitute. I think it's fine to switch Grimmsnarl out in this position. I just don't want to get crit onto the Centiskorch. So I don't mind going out in a Gastrodon here, and then going for Behemoth Blade. Now the reason I'm going for this is because even if they protect Calyrex, Trick Room with Porygon too, well, I can just yawn your Calyrex with Gastrodon, which should outspeed you under Trick Room. Oh, they are fast. But they don't KO us, okay. I did not think we'd get outsped by Calyrex there. That must, I mean, it's definitely not Min-Speed Calyrex, that's for sure. But I'm fine with this trade. We'll actually just KO them. And this is where the bulk on the Zacian really comes up huge for us. Okay. And they T-Bolt. Beautiful. So it's T-Bolt, Shadow Ball, Tri-Attack. And then probably Recover, Trick Room, or Ice Beam as the final attack on Porygon. And they bring in Landorus. Beautiful. Okay. With Landorus here, I guess it could be Ally Switch on Porygon as well. We can always switch Zacian out here just to get rid of that speed drop. I mean, I have both screens up here. Okay, I'm fine maxing Porygon in this position just to make sure we don't lose to like a critical hit. That being said, actually, I'm nervous about a late game against... Even if they crit, I think we're fine here. So I'm fine just going for Ice Beam into Landorus and then withdrawing Zacian out to sacrifice Grimmsnarl. This game played out perfectly because like normally when you Dynamax Porygon, your goal was to catch your opponent off guard, which they certainly did, but also pick up a lot of KOs, and they didn't pick up a single knockout with Dynamax Porygon. The turn 1 Protect really helped. Okay, they're just going for flinches, which makes sense. Gastrodon will easily survive a Tri-Attack here. So, we'll see if they get the flinch. That would have been a reason to max, right? If I had just maxed there, Hailstorm would just KO the Landorus. I guess I'd just bring in Zacian. You get a Spadef drop, that's fine. No flinch, beautiful. We haven't even Dynamax this game, but I'm not sure we need to. And that just one-shots Landorus-T, perfect. This one was interesting just because, yeah, like you can see how good the bulk and dual screens from Grimmsnarl are, right? So I can just bring out Zacian, and I can just Sacred Sword into Yawn. I have to say, though, it was really clutch that Zacian hung on, although even if we had fainted, I think Centiskorch was in a pretty prime position to just Gigantamax, KO the Calyrex, and then Rock Slide's not that scary when we have Reflect up, so yeah, we can always just go for Yawn here and Sacred Sword. Porygon can't take 2 attacks from Sacred Sword, and they end up forfeiting here, so I don't know if that moves the needle in terms of our ranking at all, so I guess we'll have to take a look and see. But either way, the win streak continues, so we shall continue the video as well. But if I had to guess, maybe this gets us to 5 after the last win as well, but I'm really not sure. So let's take a quick look and see. Okay. I feel like it's going to stay at 6, though. That's my guess. Climbing high up on the ladder is so hard once you're in the final couple of rankings. You really need to go up against, like, top, 50 opponents. But that actually gets us to rank number 3. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. So let's keep it going. Alright, next one here, and we're up against Gastrodon, Grimmsnarl, Rotom, Zacian, Landorus-T, and Thundurus. My opponent's decently ranked as well, so maybe this gets us to 2 if we get a win, but we've been lucky enough to string as many wins as we have to begin with, so I'll take it. But at this point, I feel so close. I feel so close. Okay, so it's a Zacian team here. We actually have a bunch of the same Pokemon, Zacian, Grimm, Landorus, and Gastrodon. Centiskorch is not really that great here. I think Yawn from Gastrodon feels very powerful. So I'm leaning towards Grimmsnarl plus Gastrodon. Articuno's not that great. Super weak into the electric types. Grimmsnarl, Gastrodon with Zacian and Landorus is what I'm thinking. And I think Yawn is what we're going to really want to try to play towards here. The problem is that they can obviously Yawn with their Gastrodon as well. So it's pretty scary because we have a lot of the same Pokemon. I don't have too much to beat Rotom Heat damage-wise either. And Zacian's not incredible in this matchup because we don't have Play Rough on it. So that's like the other part of the problem for us. And they're going to go with Grim and Gastro as well. Okay. This is going to be a pretty tricky early game, I think. How could I have even beaten this, though? And not having Spirit Break here hurts a lot, I think, unfortunately. I wouldn't be surprised if we just trade Yawns early on. Can't Thunder Wave either Pokemon. So, Light Screen's always good to start the game with. And I think I will just Yawn their Gastrodon. Now, I could consider maxing my Gastrodon in this position as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we just trade Yawns, but I really don't love that. Maybe I could just switch out into Landorus-T immediately. That's another interesting option. But okay, I'm gonna Light Screen and I am just gonna Yawn their Gastrodon. Okay, so they don't Fake Out. This is where I really wish we had Spirit Break right now. Okay, they're actually just gonna Spirit Break us. Okay, onto Grimmsnarl. That's actually okay. I actually want Grimmsnarl to faint here to get a free switch in ideally. But there's Yawn, yeah. Okay. So this next turn is interesting, right? It's like, do you switch out the Gastrodon? I wish I reflected turn 1 as well. Because I won't survive another Spirit Break, meaning I won't be able to get a Thunder Wave off potentially onto Zacian, and that would be really helpful here. If I were my opponent choose, what do I expect? Spirit Break onto Grimmsnarl and then Gastrodon to switch out? Maybe capitalize off them switching out. Double switch here. Okay, I'm gonna go for Reflect. And go into my Landorus. Now, there's a slight chance they stay in with Gastrodon and Ice Beam. Unfortunately, they don't. Okay. Oh, if this is competitive Thundurus, or Defiant Thundurus, I just activated Defiant. That's really bad. I guess it's only one boost, though, and I have Reflect up, so it's really not the end of the world, but them switching out and getting their Gastrodon out first really does not favor us. Okay. So definitely not a great start, but the thing is that Landorus does, pretty good damage into their Thundurus, and if they're not Life Orb, it's really not even that scary. Yeah, they're gonna break again into Grim. Okay, that gets the knockout. I should have Zacian in the back. I get a free switch in here. I could go into Gastrodon and actually just Yawn them. I think in order to win this game, I need to get a speed boost onto my Zacian. They've only gone for Spirit Break so far. They'll probably Reflect this next turn. I don't know how much +1 max Airstream does to Gastrodon. If they're Life Orb, I'm afraid that KOs us. Okay, I feel like I need to go into Zacian here then. Yeah, I should have thought a little bit more about them switching in Thundurus as I was bringing in Landorus. And, like, the Intimidate didn't even help me survive, although, yeah. Zacian would have just been better as a switch in first. So I at least have both screens up. At this point, it makes sense for them to Dynamax Thundurus. But my problem is I need a speed boost. I also don't know the item on Thundurus. Okay, I'm going for Behemoth Blade, Max, and then Airstream into Thundurus as well. I'm probably not gonna KO Thundurus here, right? But that's okay. Yeah, they're gonna Max. This was really tricky, because this turn I wanted to almost protect the Zacian and just Airstream into Grimmsnarl or Thundurus, but my problem is that they're probably going to get a Reflect up, and that's not great for us. And so, like, my thinking here is I need to get a speed boost onto my Zacian so that I can outspeed their Zacian later on. But the problem is that their Grimmsnarl could easily have Scary Face or Thunder Wave right now, so they can just slow us down anyway. If that were the case, then, like, I should just probably take the knockout on Thundurus in front of me with the Max Rockfall and a Behemoth Blade. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, they go for Reflect, that's expected. I'm not even sure Rockfall Blade would have KO'd Thundurus then. We'll get Behemoth Blade off here. And I guess because they're not going for Thunder Wave or Scary Face here. Ooh, I think it would have been close as to whether or not Rockfall would have KO'd. So they go for Airstream, and that's good because I'm trading Airstreams, right? Oh, that's not a lot of damage at all. Okay, you're not Life Orb then. That's a big deal. Okay. I just don't know what other moves Grimmsnarl has. It's probably Dual Screen, Spirit Break, and then I would think one of Scary Face or Thunder Wave, but I'm not sure. We have to, we know it's Gastrodon plus presumably Zacian in the back for them. So I could maybe protect Zacian this turn. Like, one play I'm thinking of is protect Zacian and then max Rockfall here, but my fear is that they Airstream into me. I just really don't want Zacian to get, like, paralyzed here or get my speed drop by Grimmsnarl. I guess the other question is whether or not max Rockfall would reflect up even KO's Thundurus. That's my other problem right now. The play I'm leaning towards the most right now is Protect and then Rockfall. Okay, I'm gonna go for it, I think. Just because I don't know Grimmsnarl's final attack, and I think it being a speed control move makes a ton of sense to me here. Okay, good. It's Thunder Wave. Nice. So we avoid the paralysis. They're gonna Airstream again, but that's okay. Key thing. Well, I guess the problem is I'm still not KOing the Grimmsnarl, so you could still Thunder Wave me, but actually that's fine because your Grimmsnarl doesn't do any damage to either of my Pokemon right now. I'm a little bit nervous about a Gastrodon versus Gastrodon endgame at this point, though. Okay, get the knockout there. The thing is, I actually could have maybe picked up a double KO there, and that would have been really sweet. But at least we know that their Grimmsnarl can't drop my Landorus' speed. I'm presuming it's dual screens here. Okay. And what we have working for us in our favor right now, first of all, is that we have extra turn of Dynamax, and then also their Grimmsnarl doesn't do any damage right now. It's not a huge, like, offensive threat. They bring in Gastrodon. Okay. This is where I really wish we had Play Rough. Them going for a Thunder Wave on Zacian certainly makes sense. So I could switch Zacian out into Gastrodon. I could also substitute. I don't know about that one. I went for Quake and just Behemoth Blade. We're gonna get Thunder Wave off. Yeah, I don't think it was right to get paralyzed here, but my Gastrodon can also handle them potentially in the late game. I'm just really worried about getting fully paralyzed right now. But the thing is, paralysis at least is helpful in the sense that now they can't put me to sleep with Gastrodon. But if they have Recover on Gastrodon, I feel like I lose this because I just don't have enough damage without having something like Play Rough. Okay, actually that paralysis might benefit us. Especially because I survive Ice Beam. Okay. And the reason why that paralysis may benefit us is because it denies my opponent a free Switch It, which is actually really interesting. We know their last one should be Gastrodon. Or sorry, Zacian. I've got 3 turns of Light Screen left. 2 turns of Reflect, which is actually 5. Got a speed boost on this. Earth Powering here makes sense. You could just Spirit Break my Landorus, Earth Power. You could also just Ice Beam again. Okay, I want a Behemoth Blade here then, and actually Swords Dance. Okay, they light screen, that's fine, but obviously now it means my Gastrodon's doing less damage to them. The Swords Dance could be a game-winning play, potentially, if they end up Earth Powering my Zacian. I was thinking about switching out, but... Okay, no full para this time around. It may be right to just target Gastrodon because the Grimmsnarl just doesn't do much damage right now in this game. But, like, if they Earth Power Zacian here, we will just outspeed and potentially KO with EQ. And they Earth Power, that's huge. Okay, nice. That does nothing to us. So there's Zacian from their end. Now you would think Zacian has to protect here, right? I'm at +2 attack, so how could you not? Oh, this is so intense. They still have a couple turns of Reflect left. I've got this late game Gastrodon. The obvious play is to protect Zacian and just Ice Beam Landorus, right? I'm also very nervous about protecting and getting fully paralyzed and KOing myself with an EQ. I could fly. But there's also a chance they just don't protect Zacian. Okay, I'm gonna go protect EQ. Okay, they protect their Zacian. Really hoping we don't get fully paralyzed here. Okay, that's good at least. This is so intense. Because the thing is, now I can KO their Zacian this next turn. But, I don't know. What else could I have done there? Gone for Rock Slide? It doesn't KO their Gastrodon. And they've got a Berry as well, yep. They're faster than me, which is also a problem. Yep, they just Ice Beam. I mean, what else could I have done there? I could have switched out my Landers into Gastrodon to get Conserve Intimidate. I just, now I'm really worried that their final, like, they have Recover on their Gastrodon as well. We've seen Earth Power, we've seen Ice Beam, Recover, we've seen Yawn. So I actually feel like they probably don't have Recover. It's my last turn of Light Screen. I've got 2 turns of Reflect. They still have a lot more turns of Screens. Since their Zacian protected, like, I just want to double up on their Zacian right now. We have the HP advantage with Gastrodon. Okay, they sub. I think that's fine. I need to not get fully paralyzed. Nice, okay. That's huge. I should survive an Earth Power from their Gastrodon as well. I was thinking about doubling up on their Gastro here, but they really don't do very much damage with Light Screen being up right now. But if they have Recover, I think we lose. That's what I'm scared of. Yawn is also a really powerful play because now they can just protect both Pokemon next turn. I don't think Earth Power gets the KO here because they have Light Screen up. Okay. No more Sandstorm. Maybe I needed to Yawn there as well. Might come down to how quickly we wake up or with Gastrodon. You could easily double protect right now in my opponent's shoes. Two turns of Light Screen, which is actually 5. A couple turns of Reflect. I'm also running out of time here, so I need to be careful about that. Oh my gosh, this game was so intense. There's also a chance their Gastrodon doesn't have Protect, but I'd be pretty surprised. I'm going to double up on it, though. Okay, Zacian protects. Gastrodon not having Protector would be so huge, but I think it will. Yeah. I could have Yawned last turn, then. Okay, we get fully paralyzed, but if anything, that's okay, because we burnt a turn of Para. I need to not lose to your time in this game, that's the key thing. Reflect wears off now, but we'll survive a Behemoth Blade. If I were them, I would sub an Earth Power here, I think. It's the last turn to Reflect. I don't mind Protect because then Sacred Sword KOs Gastrodon. I don't care if they sub with Zacian right now, I think. No. Oh. I mean, we were bound to get parried at some point, so I can't complain, but if I get that off, and then Behemoth Blade, or Sacred Sword Gastrodon the next turn. Yeah, I mean, this is what I get for letting my Zacian get paralyzed, though, right? Like, I can't expect to not get fully parried this entire time. Now, I think Gastrodon theoretically can still pull this off, so it's not over by any means, but now you sub with Zacian. I'm gonna target Gastrodon. That's heartbreaking, because I would have burnt a turn of sleep, and it would have stalled out Reflect, and then I can just Sacred Sword KO Gastrodon the next turn. But I needed to not get fully parried 2 turns in a row. Man, that sucks. Okay, Earth Power doesn't really deal that much. We do wake up! Okay, that's huge. I don't think I get the knockout here, though, which is the problem. Yeah, not even close. No special defense drop. Still 2 turns of Light Screen. I'm also at 18 set. This game was so close. And I think we maybe could have hit 2 or 1 if we won. But it couldn't be that easy. It was a really good game, though. And I think I needed to yawn instead. Doubling and putting their Zacian or Gastrodon to sleep would have been a lot better. With close combat, I'm not really sure there's much of an out here. Yeah, we survive, but another close combat finishes it off. I needed to not get parried that turn, and that really, really stings. But like I said, if I needed to avoid the parry, I needed to outright not let Zacian get paralyzed at all and switch it out. The thing is, I just had that speed boost, and yeah. This is one in which like I felt like we had the win in front of us, but I needed to avoid 2 parries in a row. And that's how close Pokemon can be. And I made a mistake by not yawning, and them having sub was a really big deal. Like, I was hoping they didn't have sub, and I would just like be able to pick up the knockout in front of me. Them getting that late game Light Screen up was really huge as well. So it's so close, and yeah, I don't know if we would have like reached rank 1 had we hit it, but yeah, GG. They're just gonna double protect. That's fine. Risky if you don't know my full moveset, because if I actually had Recover here, we'd win, but we're running the same Gastrodon moveset, evidently, and now I fall asleep. Oh, actually, yeah, because you know I have, because you know you got the yawn off, yeah. I tried hard, I really did. Giving Thundurus the Defiant boost wasn't great. I should have knocked out Grimmsnarl earlier, but a couple of unfortunate full paras. I just didn't feel, like, I felt okay letting my Zacian get paralyzed because I didn't want to switch it out. But I think it may have been right to just get my Gastrodon in earlier and start putting on pressure with Yawn, so yeah. Let's see what that brings us down to. I feel so bad. But it was a valiant effort, and this was a really fun set of games. And I certainly got really lucky, you know, in a lot of the games we had earlier. My opponent played really well. I felt like they had the early advantage. Okay, it only brings us down to 7, so we'll go for another attempt another time. But this was a really fun set of games, so I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.